Rod Stewart lifestyle and net worth. Rod Stewart, born January 10, 1945, London, England, is a British singer and songwriter whose soulful, raspy voice graced rock and pop hits beginning in the late 1960s. Stewart became an international star following the extraordinary commercial success of his landmark album Every Picture Tells a Story, 1971. Although best known as a solo artist, Stewart achieved his first exposure and success as a member of several popular groups. After taking an early interest in folk music and rhythm and blues, he was a member of two relatively obscure London-based bands Steampacket and Shotgun Express. In the mid-1960s, before teaming with the influential guitarist Jeff Beck and future Rolling Stone Ron Wood in the Jeff Beck Group. Stewart's collaboration with Beck ended in 1969 when, after two albums, he was persuaded by Wood, who had been fired by Beck, to join the Faces. Formerly the Small Faces, the band, also comprising Ronnie Lane, Ian McLagan, and Kenney Jones, played bluesy rock that appealed to Stewart's long-standing interest in rhythm and blues. During the early 1970s, the raucous Faces were among Britain's most popular live performers, and their album A Nod's As Good as a Wink to a Blind Horse, 1971, remains highly regarded. Nonetheless, Stewart, determined not to be constrained by the group format, pursued a parallel solo career during his tenure with the Faces, 1969 to 75. Rod Stewart has a net worth of $300 million. That number includes the value of his real estate and his February 2024 $100 million catalog sale. Stewart stands at a height of 5 feet 10 inches, approximately 1.78 meters tall. Early life. Rod Stewart was born Roderick David Stewart on January 10, 1945, in London, England. The son of Robert Joseph Stewart and Elsie Rebecca Gilbart, Rod is of British and Scottish descent and the youngest of 5 children. His childhood was preoccupied mainly with hobbies like building model railways and playing soccer. He was the captain of the school soccer team and played for Middlesex schoolboys. Stewart did not begin to take an interest in music until well into the early 1960s when he started to learn the harmonica and later piano. His early influences include singer Al Jolson and Little Richard. Stewart left school at age 15 with the ambition of becoming a professional soccer player. He joined the workforce with odd jobs, including a brief gig as a gravedigger at Highgate Cemetery. Having said that, let's roll. Personal life, real estate, and car collection. Stewart has had a notoriously active love life, and he is the father of 8 children with 5 different women. His first child, Sarah Streeter, was born when Stewart was 18 years old, and the couple decided to put the baby up for adoption. She was raised by adoptive parents, and Stewart finally met Streeter in 2008. Rod has a daughter, Kimberly Stewart, and a son, Sean Stewart, with his first wife Alana Stewart. He has a daughter named Ruby with his former girlfriend Kelly Imberg. From 1990 to 2006, Rod was married to model/actress Rachel Hunter. They had 2 children, Renee and Liam. Rod became a father for the 7th time in 2005 at age 60 to son Alistair Wallace with his then-fiancée Penny Lancaster. They married in 2007 and had a second son, Aidan, in 2011. Stewart was diagnosed with thyroid cancer in 2000 but was treated successfully via surgery. The surgery affected his voice, and he essentially had to relearn how to sing. Over the years, Stewart has owned a number of extremely impressive estates. In 1986, he bought a country estate in England for a little over $1 million. He sold this property in March 2019 for $6.15 million. In 2013, he bought an 18th century castle called Darrington House for $6.2 million. The estate has 10 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms and sits 10 miles outside of London. In addition to the large number of bedrooms, Darrington House also features 4 external cottages, a carriage house with its own clock tower, built in the 18th century, a greenhouse, a wine cellar, and an orchard. The home also features floor-to-ceiling windows, 3 fireplaces, 4 rooms for receiving guests, outdoor dining spaces, a tennis court, a croquet lawn, and a rose garden. Professional career. Rod Stewart's ascent to fame began to take shape after his time with the Jeff Beck Group in the late 1960s, where his unique vocal style gained some initial recognition. However, It was his move to pursue a solo career that marked the beginning of his journey to stardom. Stewart released his debut solo album, An Old Raincoat Won't Ever Let You Down, in 1969, but it was his third album, Every Picture Tells a Story, released in 1971, that truly catapulted him into the spotlight. This album, which featured the now iconic track Maggie May, was a commercial success, topping the charts in the UK and the US. The song's distinctive blend of folk rock and Stewart's raspy, soulful vocals struck a chord with audiences worldwide, making it an instant classic and a defining moment in Stewart's career. The success of Maggie May and Every Picture Tells a Story solidified Stewart's place in the music industry, leading to a prolific period during the 1970s. He continued to release hit after hit, blending rock, folk, and blues in a way that seemed to resonate deeply with listeners. Albums like Never a Dull Moment and Smiler kept him at the top of the charts, but it was the 1975 album Atlantic Crossing that marked a significant shift in his musical style towards a more polished, mainstream sound. This album included tracks like Sailing. Throughout the 1970s, Rod Stewart's fame grew exponentially not only because of his solo work but also collaborations and performances that showcased his dynamic stage presence. His move to the United States in the mid-70s broadened his musical horizons and influenced his style, as heard in later hits like Tonight's the Night. By the end of the decade, Stewart was not just a top-selling musical artist. He had become a fixture in popular culture. In the 1980s, Rod Stewart continued to dominate the music scene with a string of successful albums and hit singles that cemented his status as a rock and pop icon. His 1981 album Tonight, I'm Yours featured the catchy track Young Turks, which showcased a more contemporary rock sound. Another significant hit from this era was Baby Jane in 1983, which topped the charts in the UK, marking Stewart's last #1 single there for some time. However, it was the 1988 album Out of Order produced by Duran Duran's Andy Taylor and by Bernard Edwards of Chic, which brought us hits like Lost in You and Forever Young. In the 1990s and 2000s, Stewart took more adventurous musical turns. In 1993, he released Unplugged and Seated, a live acoustic album that included a stripped-back version of some of his classic songs. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to